Alright, well, I'm sick again, so let's find another movie to talk about. Okay, what do we got here? And so many people have talked about it already. This one's actually not that bad. This one's too bad. Oh my god, Jesus. Oh look, it's Morbius. I don't really feel like watching the rest of this. That's a thing? Who wanted this? Yo, it's Morbius again! Oh, what's this? It's, F for static? Oh, fantastic? Fantastic for what the fuck? I know for a fact that whoever came up with this shit felt so smart. He was in the meeting room like, guys, check this out. We have an A and then a 4. See, it's just fantastic, but it says Fantastic 4 because like the 4 is where the A is supposed to be. Like, guys, isn't my idea fantastic? Fant for stick? Why don't we just write it the normal way? So usually in the beginning of these videos, I like to give you guys a little bit of a backstory of the making of the movie or just some of the history behind it. But for this movie, I don't really have a funny story for you about its creation because there really isn't one. This is just one of those movies that get made because whatever overarching company owns the rights to make a movie about the characters bought the rights with a contract that says that they have to make a movie about them every time frame. So they hadn't made a Fantastic Four movie since like 2005. So they had to make another one or else they were going to lose the rights. This movie was obviously a complete flop. It cost $200 million to make, but only made $167 million back. And only $50 million of that was from North America, which is pretty insane. Or maybe it's not insane, because do people really give a fuck about the Fantastic Four? Like, I don't think I've ever asked anyone in my entire life, what's your favorite superhero? And they responded with any member from the Fantastic Four. When have you ever been talking about superheroes with a friend and they brought up Sue Storm from the Fantastic Four? I hear people talk about the X-Men or the Avengers or the Justice League or even the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody except for the Fantastic Four. There's some kind of secluded cult that lives out in log cabins in the Alaskan wilderness that give a fuck about Fantastic Four. But if that's not the case, then I don't really think anybody cares about these guys at all. So spending $200 million to make a Fantastic Four movie is just insane to me. And I'm sorry to say it, but I think the reason that nobody really cares about the Fantastic Four is because the members are just lame. We got the Human Torch, the guy that turns into like this fire being and just flies around and shoots fireballs. You know, it's pretty basic, but you know, it's not bad or anything. Could be interesting if executed correctly. Then we got the Thing, which is just, he's just the Hulk, but he doesn't turn into a human. And he just says it's clobbering time instead of Hulk smash. I mean, not terrible, right? But I mean, it's all right. Then we got Mr. Fantastic, who he just like stretches. All right. I mean, I don't really know how he would do in a fight against like Iron Man or something, but I mean, that's a pretty unique power, I guess. And we got Sue Storm, who can, she can make force fields and turn invisible. Like, the Human Torch and the Thing could be made pretty interesting, but Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, I'm sorry, but the Fantastic Four has probably the most uninteresting superheroes. We have a guy that flies around and shoots fireballs, the Hulk, but he just can't turn back into a person, a guy who just stretches and is really smart, and then a girl who can turn invisible and make force fields. Compare that to like the X-Men. Bro, Wolverine would 1v4 all of it. He would just solo these guys. And he's infinitely more interesting than any of these characters. It would be a massacre. He would just slaughter all of them within like 5 minutes. Like, compare this to a member of a different Marvel superhero team. Or Iron Man. Oh my god. He would just go like just one energy blast per person and they're all dead. Imagine if they were to fight Batman. Oh my god. It would be over in like 60 seconds. Now, the point of this movie is that it's supposed to be kind of a more grounded and serious take on the Fantastic Four. How many times have you seen that happen? A studio makes a movie about an IP that hasn't had a movie made about it in a while, but decides to make it more grounded and serious. And this was supposed to be one of those movies where there's a friend group of teenagers and they all like find superpowers, you know, like one of those. So let's see how exactly this was pulled off. So the movie opens with Mr. Fantastic, whose real name is Reed Richards, as a kid in school during some type of like career day presentation where kids have to go up in front of the class and talk about what kind of career they want to get into when they grow up. It's Reed's turn, so he goes up in front of the class and talks about like some gibberish nonsense about how he wants to invent like the first thingamabobber doohickey and be the first person to be able to teleport.
I call it a biomatter shuttle.
Biomatter?
Technically, I'm shuttling matter from one place to another. Well, first matter. But once I test on biological materials, I can...
Thank you, Mr. Richards. This is all very interesting.
So instead of being astounded that this 11-year-old kid is giving a presentation about biomatter, something that when I looked it up doesn't even exist, they just made it up for this movie. Like, when you think about it, what the fuck is biomatter? Is that like biological matter? Matter that's biological? So does that just mean body parts? What the fuck does that even mean? When I search biomatter on the internet, I don't really get any results. I just get a bunch of websites that think I'm trying to find the definition for biomass, which from what I understand is just the amount of living organisms within a certain area. Like if there's 4 deer in a forest, then the biomass of deer in the forest is 4. But nothing about biomatter. I can't believe they just made up this fucking word for the movie.
It's already possible to transport quantum information from one location to another. Right now, there are supercomputers that can transport quantum information through space. So why not a machine that can send people through space?
I'll tell you why. So quantum information is just the values of properties that are used to describe the state of a quantum system. Like its mass, its position, or momentum. It's values that you could just write down on a piece of paper and hand it to somebody. So of course you can move quantum information through space. You can literally just just write it down and email it to somebody. What does that have to do with teleporting a person? Did they just write smart sounding science gibberish onto the script and throw it right in the movie without checking whether it makes sense at all? I bet you guys didn't think you'd be learning about quantum computing in a Zero video, did you? So all of the other kids in the class laugh at Reed for his presentation, except for one kid named Ben Grimm, who goes home to his house, which is in some kind of junkyard, and when he gets back, his older brother starts harassing him and says it's clobbering time, which is the Thing's catchphrase.
Clobbering time.
Was like, okay, so you know how the Thing says it's clobbering time and that's his catchphrase? What if we make it so that the origin of it is his abusive older brother that beats the shit out of him says it's clobbering time before he beats him, because we gotta make this more dark and grounded and realistic, because any movie that's about a franchise that hasn't had a movie made about it in a while has to be super dark and grounded and realistic and edgy. So after Ben's brother beats him up, he goes outside into his backyard, which is basically just this giant junkyard. And out there waiting for him is Reed. And Reed tells him that he needs his help getting something called a power converter, because he's building the machine that he was talking about earlier that he's going to use to teleport things. So they work together to find a power converter from the junkyard and bring it into Ben's garage, where he connects it to the biomatter thingamabobber device that he invented, and they connected to this old computer from like the 90s, even though this movie is set in 2007. And we can see in other parts of the movie that there's technology that exists that's way more advanced than this. I guess he somehow got a quantum biomatter device to connect to an old computer from the 80s. I didn't know those computers can do that. That's pretty insane. So they turn on the thingamabobber biomatter thing, and it teleports this rock and makes it disappear, putting out the power in the entire town. So fast forward 7 years, Reed turned into Neiman from Whiplash, and we get a scene of him at his high school science fair, where he shows off the machine that he invented that can teleport things to other locations.
What is this?
This is a cymatic matter shuttle.
And he calls it a cymatic matter shuttle. What the fuck does that mean? So when something is cymatic, it has something to do with like waves and like sound waves and things like that. And when people talk about cymatics, most of the time they're talking about something that has to do with sound waves or some kind of frequencies or vibrations. And matter is just physical substance in general. It's just anything physical is matter. So cymatic matter. Matter is anything that physically exists. So calling something cymatic matter makes no sense, because cymatics are waves and waves physically exist, so they're matter. That's like asking somebody for some wet water. You don't call it wet water because that's what it is. You don't need to describe it as something that it is. So calling something cymatic matter makes no sense. So if you have a cymatic matter shuttle, it means you have a machine that can send vibrations or waves from one location to another. So a speaker. literally a speaker. This movie just completely falls apart into smithereens when you take anything that the characters are saying and just Google it. And I know it sounds like me being pretentious, and maybe I am a little bit, but it's just none of this shit makes any sense at all. It's just some science gibberish that they put together for the movie when they could have easily just made him call it something that makes sense instead. It's just hilarious to me. For some reason, his science project is being graded by his like second grade science teacher from earlier in the movie. I don't know why this guy still even interacts with him. Isn't he in like high school now? So Reed turns on the machine and makes this paper airplane disappear and creates a giant shockwave that destroys the glass on the backboard of the basketball hoop. And instead of being amazed by this, that a high schooler created a machine that can make objects just completely disappear and create shockwaves so strong they can break glass for a high school science fair, he instead disqualifies him for breaking the backboard. What an excellent teacher. After that, these two people come up to him and ask him about his machine. And then when he tells him about it, this dude that has a ridiculous amount of reverb on his voice to the point that it literally activates the bass speakers in the back of my TV.
That's why we can't bring the matter back from the other dimension. We've gone so far as to send matter to another dimension, but we haven't been able to maintain a field long enough to bring that matter back.
Tells him that he's going to give him a scholarship to continue to study this. Seriously, when I watch this movie and this guy starts talking, I can feel the floor start shaking from the bass. My TV just starts vibrating uncontrollably. Why are these people here anyway? Is it because they knew that Reed was going to be here, so they seeked him out specifically? Because he hasn't made anything about his studies of this machine public. He's literally been working on it and experimenting with it in a garage in a junkyard in the middle of nowhere. So it's more likely that these guys were just chilling at this random science fair at this high school looking for talent, I guess, when they happen to run into Reed. After that, Reed goes to study in New York at this place called the Baxter Foundation. And Ben tells him that he's made it this far with helping him with this machine, but it's really not his passion. And he's not going to be studying in New York with him and is going to go back home. A little while later, Reverb is at this table talking to, I don't know, the government or some kind of businessmen about a project that he's doing where he wants to send people into another dimension.
We need real-world applications.
This has real-world applications. I truly believe I'm going to personally supervise him. I need his talent. I believe he and Reed can finally get us there.
So Reverb thinks that it's a good idea to recruit an old associate of his named Victor Von Doom to help them work on the project. Obviously, this guy becomes Dr. Doom in the future. But what's surprising is that he's just like some edgy Redditor that just hangs out in his room in the dark with the blinds closed and plays video games. This dude literally looks like he makes YouTube shorts making fun of Zong. Something I don't get is, why do you need this many monitors? Like, I get having 2 monitors, or maybe even 3 in some cases. Like having 2 and then having a smaller one to read a live stream chat or something. But dude, like, you know, you can have tabs on your computer, right? You don't need like 6 fucking monitors.
They're not my employers.
You can't do a thing without their permission, yes? Wake up. You're an employee.
They'll stay out of my way this time, trust me.
It's not you I don't trust.
And what is it with the fucking reverb on everybody's voice? Why can't anyone just speak like a normal human being? They always just talk like this, like it makes them sound more like serious or something. Everybody's having these super serious conversations, and it feels like I'm just watching The Godfather or something. Like, this is Fantastic Four. It's just literally Fantastic Four. So Reverb convinces Dr. Doom to join, along with his daughter, Sue Storm, and now we have 3 people working on the project. Then we cut to Reverb's other kid, who is being played by Michael B. Jordan, a man who I hope I look like someday if I keep looks maxing. It's hilarious because Michael Jordan is supposed to be a teenager in this movie, but he's literally like 30. As a matter of fact, everybody here is 30. None of these people even look like teenagers. So Michael Jordan is driving his car and he's doing an illegal street race, crashes his car, which makes his father tell him that since he crashed his car, he has to repay him by helping out with the project since he's good at like building cars and being a mechanic and stuff. So then Michael Jordan joins the team. After that, we get a montage of the team working together to make the thingamybobber machine. And they complete it and send a monkey to the other side. It works, so they decide to move on to human trials and send people the other way. It's at this point when the government gets involved and says that they're going to send trained NASA astronauts to the other side instead of the researchers. So this makes the Fantastic Four get mad that they're not going to be the ones to go over to the other side, and they're not going to go down in history as the first people that go to the other dimension. And they have a whole scene talking about this, and it's a really big point of the movie that they want to be like remembered or something.
But you know who Neil Armstrong is, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
First men to walk on the moon. Famous faces hired to conquer dreams that weren't even theirs. Dreams of someone else, some other scientist who probably died penniless and alone and sat in a bar telling people he sent men to the moon.
And they believe that they won't go down in history and be remembered at all for literally inventing a way to transport yourself to another dimension. They think the people that are going there first are going to steal all the credit just by being the ones to go there first. So they decide that they're going to illegally hijack the machine and go there first themselves so that they can go down in history. Great plan. One thing that I'm wondering is, why do they even want to go to this other dimension? What is there that they need? A bit earlier in the movie, Reverb mentions how this other dimension has resources and things that they can use to replenish Earth's resources. It's never really explained what these resources are, how they know this other dimension has those resources if they've never even been there, seen it, or gotten any material back from it, or what the problem even is with the Earth that needs to be solved. It seems just like it is today. Is it like global warming or something? It's just some vague problem that the world has that they need to solve by going to this other dimension.
If we get there,
We'll be able to discover new resources, energy sources, which will revitalize our own. This is our chance to learn more about our planet and maybe even save it.
Save it from what? He never says. Nobody ever says. It just feels lazy because it's just not that fleshed out at all. It's barely even fleshed out besides that one sentence. It's really obvious that when they were writing the story for this movie, they decided that they wanted to have them go to the other dimension first before coming up with whatever problem that they're going to be facing that will cause them to want to go to the other dimension. You'd think they would first come up with a problem that the characters are facing and then think of a solution and then come up with they go to the other dimension. Why was Reed as a kid trying to develop this anyway? Trying to teleport objects? You're never shown why he wants to do this or what he's trying to accomplish by teleporting things. What is there that he wants to do that he would need this device to help him with? Not to sound like Virgil, but where's your motivation? Where's anybody's motivation? The only reason that anyone does anything in this movie is just so they can get superpowers and become the Fantastic Four. Nobody has their own personal goals or motivations or problems or anything that they're trying to find a solution to. Why was Reed trying to develop a machine to teleport things? What hardship was he facing that made him want to come up with that machine as a solution? Why is Dr. Doom working on this project? Does he have something that he's looking to accomplish with it? Why is he so interested in it? And why is he so mean to everybody? Is there a reason? Why does Reverb want to fix these problems with the Earth? How does it personally affect him? It doesn't seem to bother anybody else. What thing happened to him that made him care about the Earth? You never get shown these things ever. And it just makes the movie feel like it's on train tracks. And the destination is these four people become the Fantastic Four. So Reed calls up Ben and tells him that since he's been helping him with the project from the beginning, that he should join them as one of the first people to go to the other dimension. So he flies over to the lab, they suit up, and then they go into the machine. And they get transported into the other dimension, which is basically this barren wasteland of rocks with these weird green energy pools. So they'll go exploring until they disrupt one of these pools, which makes all of the land fall apart. And as they run away, Dr. Doom gets left behind and they get back to Earth. When Reed wakes up, he realizes that he's been laid out on this super long table and that his limbs have been elongated. And the movie tries to make this super serious scene with like some kind of like body horror or something, I guess, but it just looks so fucking dumb. They're literally trying to make a serious, grounded, Fantastic Four movie when these people's powers are so goofy and lighthearted that you can't really do that. And the next chamber is over. Sue Storm has been turned completely invisible. Michael Jordan has turned into the Human Torch. Ben has turned into the Thing, which is at this point in the movie just this big pile of rocks. And it just looks like he's in a lot of pain, and all of this just looks really like fucking stupid and like a little bit disturbing, and it just doesn't work. It's like trying to make a super serious and grounded live action SpongeBob show where SpongeBob and Patrick are like in the military and like they get like their limbs blown off and like serve in Afghanistan. That movie will never be taken seriously because the characters that you're using are just not fit for it. They're just so lighthearted and goofy. Or maybe it would. Maybe that could be pretty cool. But you get the point, right? Like you get the idea that I'm trying to make. So the thing about Reed is that his stretchy powers are permanent. At least from what I understand in this movie, his limbs are just permanently outstretched, and he can't really shrink them back to the original length that they are until he uses this special suit that has like magnets in it or something, but it's like he's permanently stretched out. So Reed breaks out of his confinement and crawls through the vents past Ben, who sees him and then begs him to save him. And Reed says that there's nothing that he can really do, but he promises to come back for him. And then he squeezes through the rest of the vents while his dick just scrapes across this rusty, dusty metal in this vent because he's naked. And then he squeezes through the vent outside and then somehow just runs across this military base without anybody seeing him or shooting him down and escapes into the wilderness. After that, a year passes, and Sue Storm, Ben, and Michael Jordan all work for the government and use their powers to carry out secret operations. But for some reason, they decide that they don't want the powers anymore and need to find a cure. And it's not because they don't like working for the government or the military. And it's not because they don't feel like they're human anymore or anything interesting like that. They just want to get rid of them. Just because there's no reason given that I could really find. Like maybe I missed something, but they just want to find a cure and get rid of the powers. So Reverb thinks that the key to curing their powers is to go back through the portal to the other dimension again. And to do this, he needs Reed's help with reconstructing the machine so that they can go back. So Sue Storm gets on this computer and locates Reed, and then they send the Thing to go capture him, giving us the first fight scene in the movie. Wait, how long have we been watching that? Oh my god, there's not even that much movie left. There's only what, like 20 minutes left of movie? Nothing has happened, and we're getting the first fight scene. What the fuck? And this fight is bad. I mean, like Highlander level bad. Reed jumps around and uses his stretchy powers to take down these soldiers. And like, I mean, just look at this. I don't know how any of these soldiers aren't able to shoot Reed. It's like they'll fire one shot and he'll dodge it, or they'll miss or something. And then they'll just stop firing and let Reed grab them and throw them. Like all of their guns only have one bullet in them. I seriously can't believe they tried to take Mr. Fantastic's stretchy powers and make it a real superpower that the audience is expected to take seriously and try to have like an actual fight where he fights against soldiers using guns. Like this isn't portrayed as some kind of joke or something. He's just seriously fighting with Mr. Fantastic stretchy powers. I'm just amazed at how bad this looks and just how bad this was executed and how they try to make this have a serious tone. It's just a mess. So the Thing jumps out of an airplane and lands on the ground, and for some reason they decided not to give him the shorts that he's usually wearing, so he's just naked. Okay, this is gonna be cool though, right? You know, we're gonna get an epic fight between the Thing and Mr. Fantastic. We're gonna see how their superpowers match up against one. Oh, he just headbutts him one time and it cuts. All right. So Reed is taken back to the military base, and there's a montage where they repair the machine before they go back to the other dimension. I don't know what they're actually looking to find in this other dimension. Like, are they expecting to travel there and they're just going to be like a pedestal with a little syringe on it, and that's the cure for their powers? Like, what cure are they actually expecting to find here? They've been here before. It's just a barren desert wasteland with a few green pools. Like, how is this going to help you find a cure? And it doesn't make any logical sense either. Like, in real life, if you go out into the jungle or something and, I don't know, get bit by a spider and get some type of disease, there's not a cure for it anywhere. Like, if you look around, you're not just gonna find a fucking cure. Like, yeah, you can find a few things to maybe make the symptoms better, I guess, but there's a 99% chance nothing like that will be around. This is literally like going out into the forest and getting bit by a bug and catching a disease. Then when you come home and get sick, you're like, the key to finding a cure to this disease must be in the forest, because that's where I got it from. So you go back to the forest and look around for a cure. Who wrote this? Before they're able to go into the other dimension though, they have to wait for the researchers that are already there to come back, and they come back with the body of Dr. Doom, because remember, on their first expedition he got left behind. So they found his body, and he somehow got this hoodie. I guess there's like an H&M in this other dimension that he bought it from. Seriously, how did he get this? There's nothing here. There's not even a single tree or anything that would give him any kind of material to even make this himself. Dr. Doom gets taken back to one of those testing lab chambers, and we finally get a good look at him. And he looks absolutely nothing like Dr. Doom at all. Now, this is the excuse that the movie gives for him looking like this now.
It appears that your environment suit fused with your body, but we're working on that.
And it's like, okay, I get that. But what made it fuse onto his body? The green pools? It's not like they're lava or something. The other characters were easily able to touch them. It's like water. It's not hot or anything. It wouldn't make metal fuse to your skin. But it's okay. I mean, like, they just don't know how to write and needed some kind of excuse to make this guy into Doctor Doom. Also, if you notice, we, up until now, not even now, maybe in like another 5 minutes, up until 5 minutes from now, we don't even have an antagonist for this movie. There's been no bad guy. I don't know if you ever realized that. I realized it just now. There's no bad guy. There's no antagonist. There's nobody that our heroes have to even stop at all. And we're getting dangerously low on movie here. There's only maybe like I shit you not, like 10 minutes left and we finally have an antagonist. But to be honest, it still hasn't really happened yet. In the final 10 minutes of this movie, we got introduced to a character who has not become a bad guy yet. Isn't that insane? This is like some of the worst movie pacing I've ever seen in my life. I think it might be the worst. So Dr. Doom tells this scientist guy that humans have already destroyed the Earth and he's not going to let them destroy his world too. Because if you remember, the reason that they're going to this other dimension is to gather resources to save the Earth from nothing, because they won't tell us what's wrong with it. They just say that there's something wrong but won't tell us what it is. So Dr. Doom likes this other dimension and he's like, you're not gonna destroy my world. So he tells him what he's gonna try to do is destroy the Earth so that there's no people to destroy his world. I don't know why he would tell this random guy this. I guess he was just venting or something, or just needed to get it off of his chest. There's no reason that this guy needs to know about your master plan. You can just keep it to yourself. You gain nothing by telling it to this guy. Also, there's no fucking way this is Dr. Doom. Just to touch on this again for a second. Look at this. He looks like... I don't even know what he looks like. He just doesn't look like Dr. Doom. This is what Dr. Doom is supposed to look like. Who looked at this photo of Dr. Doom and was like, nah, this looks stupid. I'm gonna do it my way. This is one of the coolest and iconic designs for a fictional character ever. It's just amazing. It's so simple, but yet it's so badass. The mask is just insanely cool. You can show anybody this mask, they immediately know that it's Dr. Doom. The green cloak and like the yellow and how it contrasts with the gray. This might be the coolest looking superhero character ever made, second to like Batman. Towards the beginning of the video, I mentioned how nobody talks about the Fantastic Four and that they're kind of irrelevant. But you know who they do talk about? Dr. Doom. If you go into a store in the mall like Hot Topic, you're going to see hoodies and t-shirts of Dr. Doom. If you go into any comic book store or most toy stores, you're going to find little collectibles of him. There's even a rapper named MF Doom who based his entire persona on Dr. Doom. Like seriously, he based his whole identity as a rapper on this superhero. If this was just a Dr. Doom movie and not a Fantastic Four one, this would have made maybe quadruple the money, because people care about that character so much. I can't really think of any other superhero universes where the villain over time actually becomes more relevant and popular than the superheroes. Dr. Doom has literally outlived the Fantastic Four. Only other one that I can think of is maybe Joker. There's a lot of people that like Joker more than Batman, especially after the Dark Knight movie. But the Joker didn't straight up outlive Batman, and Batman became irrelevant and people only really care about the Joker. It's insane that somebody, while knowing this, decided, Dr. Doom, I don't like that. I'm gonna make him a gray guy instead. I'm gonna take away all of his superpowers. He's not gonna shoot lightning out of his fingertips like he does in literally every other portrayal of the character. And I'm just gonna make it so that his power is that when he looks at people, they die. I'm serious. That's his power in the movie. He has some sort of telekinesis where if he focuses on something, it dies. Wow, very visually interesting. I'm just amazed. We never get told anything about what Dr. Doom was doing the whole year that he spent in the other dimension. Was he just sitting there? We never get told anything at all, just like every other detail in this movie. And you know that they easily could have been able to make him look like the actual Dr. Doom, what he's supposed to look like, and not this gray metal man. They could have just made it where he comes across a civilization of people that live in this other dimension, and that's where he gets all of his gear and stuff and learns how to fight, is from this other civilization of people people. Kind of how the Sentinels live in this other dimension in Doom Eternal. They have this whole beautiful city called Sentinel Prime with all of these palaces and giant buildings and stuff. Imagine if Doctor Doom came across a city like this in the other dimension. You see how easily they could have made this movie good, or at least more interesting? So Doctor Doom works his way through the facility, killing everybody he comes across until he gets back to the machine and uses it to travel back to the other dimension. And when he gets there, uses his powers to somehow open some giant blue laser beam that goes through both dimensions and starts destroying and ripping apart the Earth. And just on a little side note tangent, you know your movie is bad when it ends in a final climax action scene that has a blue beam of light shooting out of the sky. I don't know why this is such a cliche to have the final act of your action film have some blue laser beam shooting in the sky, but if you're making an action movie and you're watching this, please don't do that. Just like take 5 more minutes and think of something else that's more creative. Like seriously, I don't know why nobody talks about this cliche of action movies ending with blue beams of light being shot into the sky, because it's a bad one. It's almost as bad as showing a character being smart by having them play chess. Like having a character be good at chess to show the audience that they're smart. It's almost that level of bad. If you're really bored someday and have no friends, just go down the rabbit hole of how many movies do the same thing. Like having a blue beam of light shoot up in the sky in a major city on the climax of the movie, or a big object is about to fall on a person, and instead of getting out of the way, they just stand there and look up at it as it falls on them so that somebody could grab them and move them out of the way. Can't be the only one who notices shit like this, right? So the Fantastic Four jump into the blue beam and it sends them into the other dimension instead of disintegrating them like it's doing to everything else around it. And you can have the argument of like, oh, well, the reason it's not killing them is because they're inside of Sue Storm's force field bubble and she's flying them through. But what about Michael Jordan? He has no protection at all. How is he alive? They get through the portal to the other side to find Doctor Doom there waiting for him when Reed says maybe the worst exposition I think I've ever heard in my life.
The matter from Earth is being converted to energy. We need to stop Victor. He's the source.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Where is any sense of urgency here? Where's the emotion? He even fucks up the line, too. The matter from Earth is being converted to the energy!
The matter from Earth is being converted to energy!
Like, can we get another fucking take? Also, how can you tell that that's what's happening by looking at it? How do you know it's getting converted to energy and not just destroyed? It just looks like a blue beam that's destroying shit. How do you know it's being converted to energy? So then Michael Jordan is like, I got this because I'm the cool guy, rebellious member of the group, and I don't like teamwork.
He's mine!
So then Sue Storm is like, I have an idea, because I'm the more calm and collected, studious member of the group, and I like to think and come up with a plan before I do things.
I have an idea.
So then the Thing is like, this is nothing for me, this is just what I do, because I'm the tough guy, brawn over brains member of the group, and I'm the most physically strong, but not the smartest member. Also, I'm fucking naked, because whoever made this movie decided not to give me pants.
This is what I do.
So then Reed is like, well, I don't really fit into any specific archetype because I'm the protagonist and I'm supposed to be the most relatable to the viewer. So I'm not gonna fight Doctor Doom, I'm gonna try to reason with him. So he walks up to him and he's like, you don't have to do this!
Victor, don't do this!
And in response, Doctor Doom says the most cliche, overused bad guy line to ever exist. And he's like, the old me that you were friends with doesn't exist anymore. There's only the new me, the evil one.
There is no Victor. There is only Doom.
Anakin is dead. There's only Vader. Walter White is dead. It's only Heisenberg now. Harvey Dent is dead. There's only Two-Face. Light is dead. There's only Kira. Literally the most overused line ever. If you're writing a story, please don't have a character that used to be friends with the main villain, call them by their old name, and then have the villain say, that guy is dead. He doesn't exist anymore. Please don't do that. So Doctor Doom somehow causes Reed's limbs to stretch and like makes him not be able to control his limbs. I don't know how. It's never explained. Until Reed realizes, wait, the reason we're not winning is because we have to work together. And then the other guys are like, yeah, he's right.
We can't beat him. He's stronger than any of us.
Yeah, he is.
All right, I'm going to pause this real quick and we're going to play a little game. I want you to say out loud exactly word for word what you think Reed is going to say next. Right now, say it. All right. Let's see if you were right.
We can't beat him. He's stronger than any of us.
Yeah, he is. But he's not stronger than all of us.
Whoa, you did it. Yo, good job, bro. That means that you are good enough at writing to have written this scene. I'm serious. So they work together to fight Dr. Doom and they beat him. And then they go back to Earth. And then once they get back, a few weeks pass, and the government says that they did a good job saving the Earth. And because of that, tells them that they don't have to work for them anymore, and gives them their own facility that they can use as an HQ. So they all go into the facility for the first time and take a look at it. And Rita's like, guys, we really should have a name for our team. And the other guys think of some dumb ideas that don't sound very good. Until the thing is like, I don't know, but this place looks fantastic. So then Rita's like, wait, what did you say? Say that again? He's like, it's fantastic. And then Reed's like, yeah, it's fantastic. And that's it. That's how it ends. I'm serious.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again?
It's fantastic.
Yes, it is. Guys, I got it. Ready?
Yeah.
Nigga, what the fuck? Bro, what? That's it? That's it? It's over? Yeah, it's just like, wow, dude. Damn. Just damn. This is one of those movies where, you know, it ends, you get up, you walk out into the parking lot, you get in your car, and you kind of just like sit there for a second and just stare at the movie theater before you drive away. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, if you ever did that, just kind of just sit in your car and just kind of stare at the movie theater. All right, it's time to plug this into the bad movies tier list. You know how it is, you know how it do. So far, we got The Equalizer 3, Morbius, Suicide Squad, The Last Airbender, Madam Web, Megamind 2, Imaginary, Highlander, Replicas, Spider-Man Lotus, and Highlander 2. Now, this is one of those rankings that took a lot of thought, because when you think about it, this movie is really bad. We don't get a fight scene until there's literally 15 minutes left in the movie, and there's just so many cliches in this movie. It's insane. The acting is terrible. It's definitely not anywhere below The Last Airbender, because nothing in this movie was really as bad as all of the race swapping in that movie, and the we can find teachers to teach you bending. Nothing in here is nearly as bad as that. Just a few lines that really should have just been given another take. Nothing as bad as like teachers to teach you bending. So it's not anywhere below The Last Airbender, but I definitely don't think that it's better than Suicide Squad, because think about it. That movie had an intro sequence that took maybe like 20-30 minutes of the movie, which is ridiculously long, but this movie didn't even start until there was 15 minutes left in it. This is beyond having a really long intro section. We don't even get a villain or a bad guy until there's 10 minutes left, and then they beat him within 5 minutes. So I think I'm gonna put this in between Suicide Squad and The Last Airbender in unwatchable tier. Lastly, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I know I haven't made a video in a bit. I've just been working a lot. It's just kind of hard to find time to make these things because, you know, I'm talking about movies and I like to be, you know, really thorough with it. So I might watch the movie like twice, and that takes a while. Like if it's a 2-hour movie, that's already like 4 hours I have to set aside, and then it takes another 4 hours to make the video. But I don't know, I'm just trying to kind of work on scheduling and like budgeting my time better. So hopefully I'll be able to post more consistently for you guys, and you don't have to wait like a whole month for a new video. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Yeah, so in Borderlands 2, there's actually a gun called the DIPA, and DIPA stands for Double Penetrating Unkempt Herald. So what people do is they play Salvador and then have a gun called the Grog Nozzle in their left hand and the DIPA in the right hand. So then they can shoot at people and do a bunch of explosive damage because like no enemies really resist explosive damage. And then the Grog Nozzle on their other hand, it's a Moxie weapon, meaning that whatever damage they deal to the other person is healed. Enough! Oh my god! You've been talking about nothing for 3 days. I just asked a simple question. I was like, why did you change the races of the characters in your movie? Notice how everybody left. It's just us. I'm sorry, I was just explaining how there was a, you know, like a cultural magnificence in the script, and how that magnificence is actually a reference to the Bible. You see in the Old Testament, in Genesis, there's actually a scripture that says, he who has a mosquito fly onto their ball sack. Oh my god.